Hello, Eco343. So, with this video, I'm going to continue with the labor demand for gnomes and unicorns. When we draw the labor demands last week, one thing we didn't talk about was the elasticity of labor demand. So, elasticity is designated by the letter N of GG, which is equal to the percentage change in G over the percentage change in the wage paid for unicorns. So that would end up being equal to the derivative of G over in respect to WG times WG over optimal amount of nums, G star. So, if we go back to last week's optimal labor demand for gnomes, if we want to find the elasticity of this labor demand, we would have to find the derivative in respect to WG. In this case, it would be 5/4. I'm first gonna put it in form WY times WG to the power of minus half, since we bring this over to here, minus half. And the derivative of this thing here, prime, would be equal to 5/4 to the power of half times y, which will be a constant, times minus half to the power of times WG to the power of minus 3/2. So that will be your dg over dwg. And then if you multiply this factor by wg times g star, so this times that would give you minus half, and this cancels out, times WG. So you end up with minus half. So in this case, your slope, which is your elasticity of labor demand, is equal to minus half. So minus half is less, so the absolute value of minus half, which is equal to a half, is less than 1, which means that this labor demand curve is inelastic. The rule is that whenever the general formula here is less than 1, then you have an inelastic demand for gnomes, since the percentage change in gnomes is less than the absolute value of the percentage change in the wage that caused this change in labor demand for gnomes. Okay, let's explain the graphs now. So, we first see here a labor demand with a slope. A labor demand curve with a slope. If I were to draw a steeper labor demand curve, which is here, it would have to be more inelastic, it would have to be steeper. So for any G star, I have to make sure it's steeper. So I have to go like this, and that's it. So economists also use the ln of WG with the ln of G star. This way, you would actually be able to illustrate the labor demand curve in a in a like straight line, which shows the direct relationship between a change in the wage and its effect on labor demand. So, in this case also, the more inelastic curve would be easier to see that it's steeper, more inelastic. Okay, the last subject here will be what happens when you have an increase in wage if the labor demand curve was actually more inelastic. So let's first start with our initial labor demand curve. That will be the less elastic demand curve. And your W0 and your G0 are initial endowments. And let's say now there's an increase of wages to W1. Then the amount of hired GNOMs would go down since the firm wants to hire less GNOMs for an increase in wage. However, for the same increase in wages, if you had a more inelastic demand curve, what would happen is, for the initial endowment, we start here and we draw a more inelastic demand curve. In that case, your W1 here, at this wage rate, the firm would hire an amount of G1 which is bigger than the G1 prime that it would hire if the demand curve of this firm is actually less inelastic. Thank you for listening, and I hope you go on my next video.